I want to welcome everybody to this demonstration. Correctional officers charged in the death of Robert Brooks. But before we get started, let me read my copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. What that means is that everything that you hear in this demonstration is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, let me come on and drop down here. So this is just the beginning of these proceedings. Salute, Jamie. Salute, Jamie. Salute, Golden Child. Salute, Mama Bull. DJ Black, I'll salute y'all. So this is just the beginning. Salute, Foxy. Salute, Foxy. I'm just glad that it's finally taking place, you know. Salute, Top Flight. Salute, Top Flight. Because they've been had the evidence. We saw that. I mean, the tape. And you know they try to dodge around it and say, well, we can't hear nothing. We saw it. That was me. That was me, Top Flight. That was me. So I had to end it. It started over. I mean, as an attorney, how do you defend them? As an attorney, how do you defend them?
Okay, everyone has cards, I will take them.
Nobody, yeah.
Salute, Snoopy. Salute, Snoopy. Coke Tan, salute. Salute to the chat. How do you defend these correctional officers? If any of y'all was an attorney, how do y'all defend them?
All right. This term of Natick County Court now in session with the Honorable Robert O. Bauer presiding.
All rise.
Please be seated.
Please be seated. Salute Miss Groovy. Salute Miss Groovy. Foxy says, well, depends on the attorney level.
All right, so folks, to begin, welcome to Natick County Court. I know today's proceedings have garnered a lot of interest. You're all welcome to be here. This is a public courtroom. However, you can forfeit your right to be here by your conduct. This will be the only warning I'll give, that no outbursts or disturbances of any kind will be tolerated. With that, we'll proceed. First case, please. Is it Mr. Safranco?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so counsel, at the outset, I'll note that I have a number of requests from the media. Does either side have any objection to audio, visual, and photographic coverage of today's proceedings? Prosecution? How about you, Mr. Safranco? All right, the court will permit the same.
Foxy says, well, depends on the attorney level. If he is an attorney of the court, they have no choice, right? Foxy says, a lot of attorneys take a case like this to get recognized. True.
It doesn't look like it was moving very fast.
Salute Miss Parker. Salute Miss Parker. I'm not sure why your comments keep getting deleted, Miss Parker.
You can come right up to the podium, sir. This is the matter of the people against Nicholas Anzalone, indictment 25035, on for arraignment today. Defense counsel would please note your appearance for the record. Do I understand correctly, Mr. Safranco, you've been retained to represent Nicholas Anzalone? That is your name, sir, Nicholas Anzalone?
Yes.
How old are you, Mr. Anzalone?
44.
Mr. Anzalone, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you, and you have to be arraigned upon. Counsel, you may arraign. Very good. A not guilty plea is then entered on the defendant's behalf. Be my intention at this time, Mr. Sifranco, to adjourn the matter to this point toward the end of March. I'd like to give you some time to review the discovery materials that I imagine have been already shortly pre-trial conference to discuss scheduling motions of that nature. March 31st, 9:30 a.m.
So this one is pleading not guilty, of course.
When the name is redacted from the indictment because that individual not had custody. I'm also in more standard pretrial notices. But I've included an IAD notice, even though there were no formal identification procedures here. The ID notice is self-explanatory. It has to do with people who testified in front of the grand jury that we videotaped with this assault, indicated that this person, such and such, don't know that it will be subject to hearing after all that. Mr. Secretary, take care of that.
Understood. Thank you. All right, and with that, I understand when we heard on the question of bail, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
$1,000 cash or $250,000 bond.
Oh, okay. Mr. Fitzpatrick, I'm having some difficulty hearing you. I'm going to ask you to use the podium. Has a microphone available to you? We'll get that over closer to you. Mr. Fitzpatrick, do you want to be heard on that topic?
Can't really hear him.
Not have a valid passport when they surrender that, not that office,
Can't really hear him. Salute Michelle. Salute Orissa. Salute Orissa and Michelle.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now, and the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional grade supplies for every industry, even hard to find products, and we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Right, the court has considered the statutory factors, and I do take particular note of the reality that if the defendant were convicted of the top count contained in this indictment, he faces a sentence of as much as 25 years of life in state prison. Accordingly, bail is set at the following amounts: that is $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, or $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. Do I understand correctly, Mr. Sifranco, you have a bondsman available?
I don't think he should have received the bail at all.
All right. Mr. Bernardo, if you have that paperwork complete, I'll review the system.
Coward. Drop a 1 if y'all think they should have denied him bail. Drop a 1 if y'all think that they should have denied him bail. Coward. They knew what they was doing. They wanted to do it. It ain't like it was just a accident. They knew what they was doing. They wanted to take his life. Coward.
Officer, would you do me a favor and pass that over to Mr. Sifranco as well?
Salute Florida Queen. Salute Florida Queen. Glad to see you, Orissa. Glad to see you, Orissa.
Yes, you may.
That's right, Ms. Parker took that man's life and asking for a bond.
Thank you. All right, and before me now is Bondsman J. Bernardo. Mr. Bernardo, you swear the truth of the content of your bail undertaking an affidavit. Is that correct? Thank you.
It looked like he want to smile. And got a nerve to have a bald head.
Confirm for me, you signed the bail undertaking here as well? Yes. All right. And Mr. Angelo, I have before me now proposed bail bond in the amount of $250,000, and I understand you're asking me to be released upon this bond. Do I have that right? Yes. You understand what your number one obligation is to this bond? Yes. What is that? Court. Exactly, return to court. Some things I want to make sure you understand. First, you do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case, but if for some reason you did not come back to court as required, then a warrant would be issued for your arrest, the bail that you're posting by way of this bond, that would be forfeited and lost. You would then face a new felony charge, and that's known as bail jumping. Your case could then proceed in your absence. That means you could be tried in your absence and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand? Yes. Have proceeded now a document entitled Parker warning, outlining the ones that I just gave you in writing. You signed this document here as well after reviewing it with your attorney. Is that right? Yes. For signing and approving the bail bond. Transport gentleman can have that.
No
Mr. Hands
remorse.
alone, you're due back in this court March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference with your attorney. I will see you back here then. Anything further from my side? All set. Thank you, counsel.
Y'all hear him in the background saying the bail should have been denied. That's right. That's like a slap in the face, coward. Bail should have been denied for all of them.
David Walter.
Foxy said that gives him time to get his case set.
Not black folks up there, you feel that.
No fail.
White race, white boy, first guy. Let's go.
Somebody in the background talking cold cash.
You're representing David Walters? Yes, Your Honor. All right, so I do have a number of requests from the news media to cover today's proceedings by way of visual coverage as well as still photography. Do you have any objection?
No.
Fitzpatrick, no objection. The court will permit the same. Yes.
Salute, Mel. Appreciate you for pulling up, Mel.
Understood, John.
Yeah, Foxy, that judge do look crooked.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Mr. Stadowski, any objection to the media coverage here today?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Fitzpatrick, can I assume you have a continuing no objection? All right, very good. The court will permit the same.
Appreciate that super sticker, Miss Parker. Salute, Vibrant. Bunch of cowards. Took that man's life. Bunch of cowards. Appreciate that super sticker, Jamie. Appreciate that super sticker, Jamie. So far, appreciate that super sticker, Top Flight. Appreciate the super sticker, Top Flight.
Take Farina, please.
Salute Chen. Salute Chen. So far, one of them got a bond. One of them getting released on a $250,000 bond.
Excuse me. We'd like to know that some of the audio, we can't hear what's going on in the court.
There go the second coward. There go the second coward that they bringing in. Coward.
This is the matter of the people against Anthony Farina, indictment 25035 on for arraignment today. I've received correspondence from a James Riotto that he's been retained in this matter. Are you?
Yes, Judge, I'm here, counsel.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Starzynski. All right, and that's your name, sir, Anthony Farina? How old are you, Mr. Farina?
49.
Mr. Farina, you are here today because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you, so you have to be arraigned upon. Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Farina, in indictment 2025-35, you have been indicted by an Oneida County grand jury charged with various crimes, the top count of which is murder in the second degree. And counsel, I'd ask you to waive a formal reading of the indictment. Waive a reading and answer plea not guilty to all charges.
Not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf.
This time, Judge, I'm going to hand counsel a copy of the indictment, again with the admonition that one name has been redacted because that individual is not in custody. I'm also providing our standard pretrial notices along with a disc concerning certain statements made by Mr. Farina and asking knowledge received. Knowledge received, Your Honor.
All right. What I'm going to do, Mr. Starzynski, is adjourn the matter to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference to give you some time to review the discovery materials. At that time, I can set up a motion schedule for you as well. Will that be you or Mr. Riotto at that time?
Probably Mr. Riotto.
Very good. All right. And with respect to the topic of bail, Mr. Fitzpatrick?
I would ask, Your Honor, bail consistent with what you said on Mr. Anselmo.
Mr. Starzynski, your thoughts?
Pardon.
All right, the court's considered the statutory factors and taking particular note of the fact that the defendant, if convicted of the top count, could face a sentence of as much as 25 years to life in state prison. Bail is set in the following amounts. That is $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, or $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. Officer, if you please pass this over. Mr. Starzynski, I'm going to have you provided with a Parker warning to review with your client. Thank you.
Salute Leslie. Salute Leslie. So he getting the same. He getting the bond. He's getting a bail on a second degree murder.
Mr. Farina, you do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case. If for some reason you posted bail and then did not come back to court as required,
That's crazy, y'all. That's real crazy. Like
your arrest
on a second degree murder, they getting the bail.
You may then face a new felony
They get to
charge,
make bail
jumping
on a murder, period.
Absence, meaning you could be tried in your absence, and if convicted, sentenced in your absence.
And then why they wasn't brought in?
I've received this document
and Owens jumpers.
Warning, which outlines in
why they get to come in street clothes.
Confirm for you sign this document after reviewing it here with your attorney today. Thank you.
I thought they
All right,
stopped
bail
that.
set the amount so indicated. The defendants to return to court on March 31st at 9:30 a.m. Is there anything further from our side?
No, Your Honor, thank you. Yes, Your Honor, I ask that the defendant surrender his passport to counsel, and counsel advised me of when it has been surrendered. suggest a week to do that. We'll make that happen.
Very good. If you please notify the court when that's complete.
I will.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Surrender his gun too. The fuck?
All studies committed.
Coward. Can't even look up. So far, 2 of them received the bail. 2 of them received the bond. So far, well, it looks like they all gonna receive bond.
Anthony Gallagher,
They're gonna third, coward.
Sorry, under these circumstances.
Me, I like an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That's what I like. I think this whole jury, I think the whole court system in this country stinks.
It's Mr. Lillibrand, is it?
Yes, good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Mr. Lillibrand had a number of media requests here for audio, video, coverage, and still photography. Do you have any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Court will permit the same.
Look at this coward.
The matter of the people against Matthew Gallagher and indicted 2505 on for arraignment today. I understand, Mr. Lillibrand, you then retained to represent Matthew Gallagher. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's your name, sir, Matthew Gallagher? How old are you, Mr. Gallagher?
43.
Mr. Gallagher, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County has returned an indictment against you. You must be arraigned upon that indictment. Counsel, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gallagher, indictment 2025-35 in the Oneida County Grand Jury has charged you with various crimes, the top count of which is murder in the second degree. And I'd ask counsel if you waive a further reading of the indictment.
Yes, we do, Your Honor. We enter plea of not guilty and waive reading of the indictment.
A not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf.
This time, Judge, I'm going to hand counsel a copy of the indictment with one name redacted, along with our standard pretrial notices, including a disc containing statements allegedly made by Mr. Gallagher, and asking if you acknowledge receipt of those results.
You the documents on acknowledge receipt.
So that's the
All right,
third
in that
one.
case, it's the court's intention to adjourn the matter to morning of March 31st, 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference. Give you time between now and then to review the discovery materials, set a motion schedule at that next appearance. With respect to bail, the position of the people.
Your Honor, I would recommend bail consistent with what you said on Mr. Anzalone and Mr. Farina.
That's bullshit.
Mr. Lillibrand, your thoughts?
Yeah.
We would join in that request. Your Honor, I would add that Mr. Gallagher is a lifetime resident of the area. His family local, 2 young children and a wife. He's worked throughout the area. There's no criminal record whatsoever, Your Honor.
All right, the court's considered the arguments of counsel and the statutory factors, and noting that the defendant could face a sentence of as much as 25 years to life in state prison if convicted after a trial of this matter. Bail is set in the following amounts: $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, a $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. Mr. Gallagher, in a position to post that bond today, or did you need to schedule that?
He's prepared. Mr. Bernardo has agreed to provide the bond for us on behalf of Mr. Gallagher.
Of course.
Let that have been me.
That's that union money.
I'll pass the Parker warning over. You can review that with your client while I look over the bond paperwork, please.
Let that been me. They gave me no bail. In jail
That's
without
that
no
union money.
bail. In jail
Niggas
without
ain't
no
got that kind of
bail.
money, man.
How many of y'all remember that song by the Fat Boys back in the 80s? In jail without no bail.
Taxpayers' money. Catch and release.
So that's 3 of them. That's 3 of them so far that has
All right.
been
Before me now
released
is
on
Mr.
bail.
Bernardo. Mr. Bernardo, you swear the truth, the content of your bail affidavit and undertaking? Yeah, Mr. Gallagher signed the same.
How do you live with yourself? How do you tell your kids this? And your kids gotta watch this. You probably don't even let them watch it. Dad's a racist. That's what it is. He beats on helpless, innocent black men in prison who swore to uphold and defend the Constitution.
All right, so Mr. Gallagher, I have before me now a proposed bail bond in the amount of $250,000. I understand you're asking to be released upon this, is that right? Do you understand what your number one obligation is under this bond? Exactly right. You do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case. If you do not come back to court as required, then a warrant will be issued for your arrest. The bail you're posting by way of this bond will be forfeited and lost, and you'll then face a new felony charge, and that's known as bail jumping. Your case may then proceed in your absence. That means you could be tried in your absence and convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. Do you understand that? Now, the warnings I just gave you were just provided to you in written form by way of this document entitled Parker Warning. I'm holding the same up for you. Confirm for me that you did sign this document here after you reviewed it with your attorney. We're just signing and approving the bail bond. You're released on the bond today. You're due back in this court on March 31st at 9:30 a.m. Thank you. All set. Thank you.
Thank you.
So far, 3 of the correctional officers have been released on bail. 2nd-degree murder. Their next court hearing will be March the 31st. If any of y'all didn't hear that.
At least it ain't manslaughter.
Their next court hearing will be on March the 31st. So far, 3 of them has been released on bond.
So Walter's just down there.
The judge looks corrupt, crooked. Allegedly. The judge looked like he could be related to the last one that just left out.
For Michael Fisher.
Yes. Down there, right?
Drop a 5 if y'all think the judge looked corrupt. Drop a 5 if y'all think the judge looked corrupt. Ms. Groovy dropped the 5. Top flight dropped to 5. Top flight says everybody suspect. Salute Blue Devil. Salute Blue Devil G. I see you, Mel. I see you, Mel.
What?
So far, 3 of the correctional officers has been released on bail. Right, Jamie? Would have been locked out. Would have been locked up. They won't let me out. They won't let me out. I'm locked up. They won't let me out. No, they won't let me out. I'm locked up. So far, Mel, so far, 3 of the correctional officers have been released on bail. They've all been indicted. All 6 have been indicted. So far, 3 of them has been released on bail. They're being charged with second-degree murder. Those 3 have to come back March the 31st. Now they about to So far, 3 of them, 3 of the officers have been released on bail. They're about to have the bail hearing for 3 more. I see you, Top Flight. I see you roasting me, Top Flight. Where the bartender at? Since y'all down there in the chat causing all them problems, somebody open up the bar.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
This is the correctional officers that took the life of Robert
Christopher
Brooke
Walrath.
in New York. These are the correctional officers that took the life of Robert Brooke in New York. Somebody open up the bar down there. Maybe if Top Flight and the rest of the troublemakers get drunk, maybe they'll pass out. Somebody open up the bar down there in the chat. Pass out some drinks. Make sure y'all tip the bartenders. Oh, Lord, don't bring up Positive Vibes' name, Chin. Do not bring up Positive Vibes' name, Chin. I can hear now. So here's the 4th correctional officer. Here's the 4th correctional officer. Let's hear what they're going to say about him.
Well, I do have a number of requests from news media for audio and video coverage of today's proceedings, as well as still photography. Do you have any objection? What will permit the same? Sir, your name is Christopher Walrath?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Walrath, you're charged under indictment 25035 with the felony offenses of murder in the 2nd degree as well as manslaughter in the 1st degree. On these charges, you're entitled to the assistance of counsel at this and all stages of proceedings. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you at no cost to you. Ms. Hartwell here is with the Public Defender's Office. If you qualify for her services and you like, I can assign you to represent you. Is that your wish?
Yes.
Do you at least preliminarily qualify, Ms. Hartwell?
Yes, Your Honor, he does.
All right, and at this time, Ms. Hartwell and her office will be assigned to represent you. I'll just note, Mr. Walrath, that is subject to your, it being verified that you are financially eligible for assignment of the Public Defender's Office and that we do not have a conflict of counsel develop as the case moves forward. I just want to make sure you understand that.
Okay, sir.
With that, you're here today to be arraigned on indictment 25035. And Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Mr. Wall, in indictment 2025-35, you've been charged by an Oneida County grand jury with various crimes, the top count of which is murder in the second degree. Counsel asks if you waive a formal reading of the indictment.
I will. Yes, thank you.
This time, Your Honor, I'm going to hand counsel a copy of the indictment with one name redacted because that person is not yet in custody, along with our standard pretrial notices, and ask if you acknowledge receipt of that.
Do I acknowledge receipt, Your Honor?
And enter a plea.
Yes, Your Honor, we enter a plea of not guilty.
A not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf. I'm going to adjourn the case to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference and to set a motion schedule. With respect to the topic of bail, what's the position of the people?
We would ask for bail to be set consistent with that of Mr. Anzalone, Mr. Farina, and Mr. Gallagher, Your Honor.
Ms. Hartwell, your thoughts?
Your Honor, with regard to that, I'm just only asking the court to consider the reasonable bail based on the information that the court has received, as well as the fact that my client is a lifelong resident here in the area of New York State, and I do not believe is a flight risk.
Officer, would you mind passing this over to Ms. Hartwell, please? Court has considered the arguments of counsel as well as the statutory factors, taking particular note of the reality that if the defendant were convicted of the top count contained in the indictment, it could face as much as 25 years to life in state prison. Bail is set in the following amounts. That is $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, or $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. Now, Mr. Walrath, if you do make bail and you release while these charges are pending, you do have a right to be present at all stages of the proceedings in your case. If you do not come back to court when required, then a warrant will be issued for your arrest. The bail posted would be forfeited and lost. You would then face a new felony charge that's known as bail jumping. It may be in your absence, meaning you can be tried in your absence, and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand? There's a document in writing to that effect of the warnings I just gave you. Please take a moment to review the same with your attorney, and then you may sign.
So that's the fourth correctional officer that was given the same bond.
For the record, the defendant has executed the original of the court's written Parker warning. The matter is adjourned now to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
That would ask the court ordered the defendant to surrender his passport to counsel, and that she advise the court and special prosecutor when that's done.
All right. Understood. Thank you. Thank you. He's all set.
So that's four. That's four correctional officers.
Family, friends,
And I agree with everybody.
union.
How can correctional officers afford that amount of bail? How can correctional officers afford to raise that kind of bail?
I'm not guaranteed he's gonna survive.
Four of the six correctional officers that have been indicted for the death of Robert Brooks have been released on bail for second-degree murder. The next court hearing is March the 31st of this year. Here comes the fifth correctional officer that has been indicted for the death of Robert
Matter of
Brooks.
people against Michael Fisher under indictment 25035 on for arraignment today. That's your name, sir, Michael Fisher? How old are you, Mr. Fisher? 54.
54. You still doing that dumb shit?
And no bald head
The
jokes.
grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you. You are charged with one count of the felony offense of manslaughter in the second degree. On this charge, you're entitled to the assistance of counsel at this and all stages of the proceedings. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you at no cost to you. Ms. Hartwell is with the Public Defender's Office. If you qualify and you like, I can assign her to represent you. Is that your wish?
Yes, please.
He qualifies.
He does, Your Honor, preliminary qualifies for public defender services.
All right, so Mr. Fisher, I'm assigning Ms. Hartwell today so you understand. Conditionally, that is that you're going to ultimately, after they get a further review of your finances, properly qualify for assignment of counsel. And then I'm going to have to look into whether or not a conflict exists and maybe to assign you counsel. You understand? You can stand in for arraignment today.
Yes.
Very good. And we'll proceed with the arraignment. Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Fisher, in indictment 2025-35, you have been charged by an Oneida County grand jury with a single crime of manslaughter in the second degree. Counsel, I'd ask if you waive a formal reading of the indictment. Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to hand counsel a copy of the redacted indictment, redacted only with one name being removed, along with our pre-trial notices, along with a disc containing statements allegedly made by Mr. Fisher, and I'd ask if you acknowledge receipt of those items.
You should get murdered. For real. Murder.
Wow.
Right. Are you paying your bill?
There's no conspiracy charges. None of that. But what happened to the conspiracy charges?
A not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf. This matter will be adjourned to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference and setting a motion schedule.
Not one fucking conspiracy charge.
Fitzpatrick, did you want to be heard on topic of bail?
Yes, Your Honor. I would ask, we have the people, bail be set in the amount of $25,000 cash or $100,000 bond. And I'd also ask, as with previous arraigned defendants, that Mr. Fisher surrender his passport to counsel and she advised the court and the special prosecutor the same day.
Passport to surrender.
No, he does not.
Ms. Hartwell, what are your thoughts on bail?
Your Honor, with regard to bail, again, I would ask the court to consider reasonable bail in this matter. I do see that Mr. Fisher is not charged with 2 counts, but only 1 count. And he is a lifelong resident of the state of New York, and he is not a flight risk. As I've just indicated, he does not have a passport. And I can assure that he will not be a flight risk, and I ask the court to consider bail slightly lower than what's been recommended.
The court's considered the arguments of counsel in noting that the defendant could be sentenced to as much as 5 to 15 years in state prison if convicted after a trial. Bail is set in the following amounts: that is $50,000 cash, $100,000 insurance company bail bond, or $500,000 partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. If I understand correctly, Mr. Bernardo is in a position to post a bond today. All right, when you have your paperwork ready, I'll review the same.
So they give him a cheaper bail. They give him a bail of $50,000. So far, 4 of them received the same bond. The 5th one received a cheaper bond of $50,000. Yes, 6 officers have been indicted. 6 officers have been indicted. So far, 4 of them has been given the same bond. Those 4 has been released. This one, because he only has 1 charge. The other 4 has 2 counts of second-degree murder, but this one only had 1 count.
Mr. Bernardo, you swear the truth of the content of your bail affidavit and undertaking, is that correct?
She smiling.
Signature, please.
She cheesing away.
Thank you.
No baldy jokes either, y'all. No baldy jokes. No baldy jokes.
All right, Mr. Fisher, I have before me a proposed bail bond in the amount of $100,000, and I understand you're asking to be released upon this. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you understand what your obligation is under this bond?
Yes.
What's that?
Show up or lose everything.
Exactly right. Yeah, you have to come to court or this bond will be forfeited.
Won't be a problem.
Very good. So I'm going to advise you of your warnings relative to that. You do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case. If you do not come back to court when required, then a warrant will be issued for your arrest. The bail being posted by way of this bond here today, that would be forfeited and lost. You'd then face a new felony charge of bail jumping, and the case could proceed in your absence, meaning you could be tried in your absence and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand?
Yes, sir.
I've received a document entitled Parker Warning that outlines the warning that I just gave you in written form. And confirm for me you signed this document here after reviewing it with counsel today. Court is signing and approving the bail bond. With the release on the bond here today, Mr. Fisher, you are due back in this court on March 31st at 9:30 a.m.
So they all are scheduled so far on March 31st.
So, thank you. Also, thank you.
Judge, I'll check the progress of the others.
And this is why your local elections count. This is why your local elections count. I'll say it for the third time. This is why your local elections count. Same here, Foxy. Same here. That judge gives me a very bad vibe. Mel says, Foxy, if you see something, say something if you can't stop it. I agree with Mel and Foxy. Salute, Suntan. Salute, Suntan. Mel says the courtroom is full of neutral colored people. Where is the family? Good point, Mel. Good point. Not unless that's the family to the no, that wouldn't be the family. Who knows where the correctional officers' families are? Foxy says local elections are very important.
Take a look again, Kyle.
Defense counsel, I'm going to mispronounce your name unless you help me. Nociolo. Counsel, do you have any objection to the media coverage of today's proceedings? All right, court will permit the same.
Salute Cape Cod. Salute Cape Cod. Cape Cod got jokes. Cape Cod has been around my troublemakers. Cape Cod don't even come in saluting. Cape Cod comes in roasting. All right, Cape Cod, I see you down there, Cape Cod. She don't even come in saluting nobody. She just come in roasting. Foxy says we got to let our vote and voices be heard. Yes, yes, yes. Positive Vibe says Shank just happy he ain't the only bald man tonight. I thought I said no baldy jokes. I thought I said no baldy jokes. As you can see, Foxy, I do have a chat full of troublemakers. So I advise you, Foxy, to stay away from those troublemakers. They will turn you out quicker than you can blink up your eye. So be careful, Foxy, with my troublemakers. Just stay away from them. Mel says, oh, I see the black people in the back. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that they are family members and friends of Mr. Robert Brooks. Mel says, when did this happen? I can't remember, Mel. I think it happened in December, I think. And here comes the final correctional officer. This should be correctional officer number 6. Foxy says, don't worry, that won't happen. There is a time for jokes and a time to stand on business. Here comes Leslie with her jokes.
This is matter of the people against Nicholas Gentile, indictment 25035 on for arraignment today. And counsel, it's Julie Nociolo, correct? You've been retained to represent Nicholas Gentile? That's your name, sir, Nicholas Gentile?
Yes, sir.
How old are you, Mr. Gentile?
36 years old.
Mr. Gentile, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you. You have to be arraigned upon that. Counsel, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gentile, in indictment 2025-35, an Oneida County grand jury has charged you in the 8th count of said indictment with tampering with physical evidence, violation of section 215.40, subdivision 2 of the penal law. And Ms. Nociolo, I ask you to waive a further reading of the indictment. Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to hand counsel a copy of the indictment redacted with one name missing, along with our pretrial notices and demands, etc. Asking to acknowledge receipt of those items.
Acknowledge receipt, Your Honor.
And enter a plea.
And for a plea of not guilty on my client's behalf.
A not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf. The court will adjourn the matter to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference in the setting of a motion schedule. What are the people's thoughts with respect to the defendant's release status?
I believe this is a case where you can't set bail, so I leave it any conditions to the court's discretion.
All right. Do you want to be heard on that topic, Ms. Nociola?
Briefly, Your Honor, with respect to any conditions, I agree obviously with the people. This is a non-qualifying offense. Mr. Gentile has been a long member of this community, has a wife and kids, has retained me as counsel, and we ask therefore that he be released on his own recognizance.
All right, the court's considered the arguments of counsel, and the bail statute being what it is at present, this does constitute a non-qualifying offense, such that bail may not be set on this particular charge. Mr. Gentile, that means I'm going to be releasing you on your own recognizance, which effectively means on your promise that you will return to court when required. Do you promise me you'll do so?
Yes, Your Honor.
Understand that if you were to break that promise and not come back to court as directed, then you're subject to having release on your own recognizance revoked, and that means you could then be committed to the jail with or without bail, so I'll be assured you do come to court when required. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to pass over a document titled Parker Warning that outlines your obligations in that regard.
So where's the nurse?
He's being released on his own recognizance, PR. He's being released on a PR bond. Wow.
The defendant has executed the written Parker warning here in court. Mr. Gentile, keep in touch with your attorney. You'll be back in this court on March 31st at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. 4 was given the same amount of bond. 1 was given a lesser bond. And then another one was actually released on a PR.
I'm Sicilian and.
What do y'all make out of this? And I think certain cases should determine, the nature of the actual case. All of that should play a role in it. And if y'all notice, they never mention anything about Robert Brooks losing his life at the hands of these correctional officers. Now I've sat in many bail hearings. I've heard many bail hearings on TV court. And normally they bring up details. You'll hear them mention details of how horrific the crime was. We didn't hear any of that in this case. Not one time did you hear Mr. Robert Brooks' name be brought up. Positive says, unfortunately, Black cases are the least cared about cases. Oh, we got another correctional officer. Okay. We got a 7th one.
This is the matter of the people against David Kingsley, indicted 25035. At the outset, Ms. Hartwell, do you have any objection to media coverage?
No, Your Honor.
What will permit the same? And sir, that's your name, correct, David Kingsley?
Yes.
So, Mr. Kingsley, because the grand jury of Oneida County did determine an indictment against you. You are charged with 1 count of the felony offense of murder in the 2nd degree and 1 count of the felony offense of manslaughter in the 1st degree. These officers are entitled to the assistance of counsel at this and all stages of proceedings, and if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you at no cost to you. Ms. Hardwell, does he qualify preliminarily?
Preliminary qualify for public defender services.
And with that in mind, Mr. Finelli, are you in a position to take an assignment? Yes. Why don't we have counsel approach, please?
I thought it was 6, so we see it's 7. Talking too much. What are y'all thoughts on this one? Leslie says, why are they just getting charged when those officers beat Tyree? They was arrested the next day. We know why they was arrested the next day, Leslie. Kate Carr says, were all the officers white? Yes. Positive says, now he wants to be quiet. Kate Carr says, why is that lawyer smiling so much? Right.
It was her.
That lawyer doing a lot of smiling.
You killing our kids. You killing our kids. That ass.
That's right.
She was nobody cares. Now I know what I do too. And we got the same shit you got. Don't talk.
People fed up.
So, maintain the assistance of counsel throughout these proceedings, and if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be assigned to you. Do you intend to retain counsel, or do you like counsel to assign? All right, and I understand this. All right, in that case, Mr. Kingsley, I do have Attorney Matthew Finelli here. I'm going to assign him at this time as your attorney for purposes of today's arraignment. That's a conditional assignment insofar as I understand the Public Defender's Office is going to complete their review of your financials to ensure that you are in fact eligible for assigned counsel. You understand? With that, then I'll ask Mr. Finelli to step up, and I'll thank Ms. Hardwell.
She just smiling away, y'all. She just smiling away.
Credentials, I'll let you record. How about that? Thank you, sir.
Mr. Finelli, you're welcome to turn the microphone off and take a moment to confer with your client.
These cowards get away with this stuff because these cowards got people that's in the criminal system, as far as the judges, the attorneys. Look at them. Look at the facial expression. And got a nerve to be rocking the bald head. Look at him. Nonchalant. Look at him.
All right, so Mr. Kingsley, the reason for your appearance here today is because the grand jury of Atlantic County returned an indictment against you, so you have to be arraigned upon that. Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I apologize to the court, but I'd like to amend the indictment to reflect the correct spelling of Mr. Kingsley's name. In the head note of the indictment and in count 1 and count 2, Mr. Kingsley's name should be spelled Kingsley.
I see that a couple of letters were transposed. No objection, Mr. Finelli. No objection, Your Honor. Court will permit the amendment.
Mr. Kingsley, in indictment 2025-35, you've been charged by an Niagara County grand jury with various crimes, the top count of which is murder in the second degree. And I'd ask Mr. Finelli if you waive a formal reading of the indictment.
I do waive.
This time, Your Honor, I'm going to hand Mr. Finelli a copy of the redacted indictment with one name missing, along with our standard pretrial notices, as well as a disc containing statements allegedly made by Mr. Kingsley, and ask if you acknowledge receipt of those items.
I acknowledge receipt.
And under a plea.
My client wishes to enter a plea of not guilty.
Not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf. This matter will be adjourned to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference and setting up a motion schedule. And did either side wish to be heard on the question of bail? Mr. Fitzpatrick.
I'd ask that bail be set consistent with Mr. Anzalone, Mr. Farina, Mr. Walworth, Mr. Gallagher, and that Mr. Kingsley surrender his passport, if he has one, to Mr. Finelli at his earliest convenience, and notify the court and special prosecutor when that is done.
Mr. Finelli, does your client have a passport?
Your Honor, I believe he does have a passport, correct? Do not have a passport. Does not have a passport.
All right, and your thoughts on bail, Mr. Finelli?
Your Honor, I just ask that you take into consideration, it's my understanding that my client is a family man. He is a lifelong resident of Jefferson County.
So was Robert Brooks a family man, motherfucker?
I ask the court take those considerations when setting bail.
Court's considered the statutory factors as well as the positions of counsel this morning. And I do take particular note of the fact that if convicted after a trial of the top count here, the defendant does face as much as 25 years to life in state prison. Accordingly, bail is set in the following amounts. That is $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, or $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. We'll pass over a written Parker warning. Mr. Kingsley, some things to understand, sir. You do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case, but if you did not come back to court when required after posting bail, then a warrant would be issued for your arrest and bail posted would be forfeited and lost. You then face a new felony charge known as bail jumping, and your case could proceed in your absence, meaning you could be tried in your absence and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand? Also, please take a moment to review that with your client and have him execute the same.
Salute, Perk. Salute, Perk. Positive says, giving bald heads bald a bad look. Ms. Groovy says his bald head looked like the Predator's hound.
Just for the court's notice here, there appears to be a typo here in this Parker warning. It indicates that sir is the third, David James Kingsley the third. He is not the third.
And amend that, thank you.
So five of the correctional officers received the same amount in bond and bail. One received a lesser bond, and then one was given a PR bond, personal recognizance.
For the record, the defendant has executed the written Parker warning here in court. The matter is now adjourned to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. I will have you back then, Mr. Kingsley. He's all set, thank you.
Wow. Wow. Hope you're feeling all right, Perk. I hope you're feeling good, Perk. So far, seven correctional officers. 5 has been given the same amount of bond. 1 has been given a cheaper bond, and 1 has been released on a PR bond. That's why your local elections are very important.
They can drag this shit out for years.
And we do laugh at times over here. We do have fun and joke because the cases
Thank you for waiting, Mr.
that
Continue to have no objection to the media.
we cover and
Yes,
follow
very good, thank you.
can really put you in a dark place. So the laughing and joking helps balances it out. Here comes the eighth. Here comes the eighth correctional officer that's responsible for Robert Brooks' death. This is the eighth correctional officer.
This is the matter of the people against David Walters, indictment 25035, on for arraignment today. Mr. Passalacqua, do I understand correctly you've been retained to represent David Walters?
Yes, Your Honor, on behalf of Passalacqua Associates, we would have been retained to represent Mr. Walters.
Thank you. That's your name, sir, David Walters?
That's correct, sir.
How old are you, Mr. Walters?
36.
Mr. Walters, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you. You have to be arraigned upon. Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Thank you, Robert. Mr. Walters, in indictment 2025-35, an Oneida County grand jury has charged you in the 6th count of said indictment with the crime of manslaughter in the 2nd degree. Mr. Passalacqua, I'd ask if you waive a formal reading of same.
I will.
I'm going to hand the defense counsel a copy of that redacted indictment along with our standard pretrial notices as well as a disc containing statements allegedly made by Mr. Walters to law enforcement.
I would have not received one.
Now,
In formal proceedings, entered plea of not guilty to all charges at this time.
very good. A not guilty plea is then entered on the defendant's behalf. The matter will be adjourned for a pretrial conference to March 31st at 9:30 a.m., at which time, if necessary, I will also set a motion schedule. And Mr. Fitzpatrick, your thoughts on bail?
I would ask that bail be set consistent with that set on Mr. Fisher, and that if Mr. Walters has a passport, he surrender it to his attorney and his attorney notify the court and the special prosecutor of same.
Passalacqua, does your client have a passport?
He does not, Your Honor.
All right, and your thoughts then on bail?
Yes, Your Honor, I would ask the court to consider setting bail lower than has been previously set. Mr. Walters has been a lifelong resident of the area, does not have a passport, does not recall the last time if he ever left the country at all. He's retained my office. He's been in constant contact with us. We've maintained constant contact with Mr. Fitzpatrick's office throughout these proceedings and leading up to today's arraignment. He poses zero flight risk, and I would ask the court to consider those factors in setting bail.
Thank you. The court's considered the statutory factors as well as the position of counsel here this afternoon, noting that if convicted of the sole count the defendant faces under this indictment, he could face 5 to 15 years in a state prison facility. Bail is set in the following amounts. That is $50,000 cash, $100,000 insurance company bail bond, or $500,000 partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. Mr. Walters, if you post bail while these charges are pending, you do have the right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case. If you did not come back to court, then a warrant would be issued for your arrest. Any bail posted would be forfeited and lost, and you would then face a new felony charge known as bail jumping. And your case could proceed in your absence, meaning you could be tried in your absence, and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. Do you understand? There's a written document. I'd like to take a moment to review that with you.
Thank you, Thank you.
So five received the same bail, 2 received the same bail, and 1 was released on a PR bond. He, along with another correctional officer, was given a $50,000 bond.
For the record, the defendant has executed the original Parker warning here in court. The court is now in receipt of the same. The matter is adjourned to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference, and I will have you back then, Mr. Walters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Grury says, is the family going to accept the lawsuit? If so, they won't face any charges. Look at the Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Kanika Jenkins case. Sagan says, Ball is the end thing, but wonder if the other attorney was Jewish. He looked like his bald spot could have been made by wearing his Jewish hat. Good point, Sagas. So he was given a $50,000 bond. 2 of them was given a $50,000 bond. That's cash. 5 was given a $100,000 bond, cash. and one was released on his own recognizance. So that's 8 other correctional officers.
Is it Thomas Capezza? Mr. Capezza, I have a number of requests from the news media to cover today's proceedings. Any objection? The court will put it the same.
This is correctional officer number 9. 9 correctional officers on 1 inmate.
This is the matter of the people against Michael Mashaw, indictment 25035 on for arraignment today. And it is Thomas Capezza, correct, counsel?
Thomas Capezza, Your Honor.
All right.
On behalf of Michael Mashaw.
Oh, please. You've been retained to represent Michael Mashaw.
Yes, Your Honor.
And sir, that's your name, Michael Mashaw?
Yes, sir.
How old are you, Mr. Mashaw?
47, sir.
Mr. Mashaw, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County. Oh, please. You're here today, Mr. Mashaw, because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you. You have to be arraigned upon that. And Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Mashaw, indictment 2025-35. You've been charged by the Oneida County grand jury in count 4 with the crime of manslaughter in the 2nd degree. Mr. Capezza asks you to waive a formal reading of said indictment.
Waive a public reading and to please of not guilty.
At this time, Your Honor, I'm going to hand Mr. Capezza a redacted copy of that indictment, one man. Along with our standard pretrial notices, along with a disc containing statements allegedly made by Mr. Mashaw, and ask if you acknowledge receipt of those.
Acknowledge receipt.
All right. Did I hear correctly? Did you enter a plea?
Excuse me, Your Honor?
You entered a plea. Did I hear you right?
Yes.
All right. A plea of not guilty entered on the defendant's behalf. This matter will be adjourned to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference and a setting of a motion schedule. Mr. Fitzpatrick, your thoughts on bail, sir?
Your Honor, I would ask that bail be set consistent with that set by Mr. Fisher and Mr. Walters, and that Mr. Mashaw, if he has a passport, surrender same to Mr. Capezza, and that Mr. Capezza notify the court, the special prosecutor, when that is done.
Your Honor, we will turn over the passport.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That'll be a condition of any bail set here today. Your thoughts on bail, Mr. Capezza?
Your Honor, we consent to the bail and Mr. Bernardo will provide.
All right, the court's considered the arguments of counsel here this morning, as well as the statutory factors, and bail is then set in the following amounts: $50,000 cash, $100,000 insurance company bail bond, or $500,000 partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. You have the bond paperwork? I'll take a look at that, Mr. Bernardo.
5 was given the same bond, 3 was given the same bond, and only 1 was released on a PR bond.
We're looking at that now. Thank you.
They cutting the fool. They cutting the fool.
All right, before the court now is bondsman Jay Bernardo. Mr. Bernardo, you should swear to the truth of the content of your bail undertaking and affidavit. Is that correct? Thank you. Should get his signature, please. Thank you. Mr. Mashaw, I have before me a proposed bail bond in the amount of $100,000. I understand you're asking to be released upon this. Is that correct? You understand what your number one obligation is under this bond? What's that? And any other dates you're required to be in court. You have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in this case, but if you did not come back to court when required, then a warrant would be issued of your arrest and a bail you posted even by way of this bond that would be forfeited and lost. And you would then face a new felony charge known as bail jumping, and the case could proceed in your absence, meaning you could be tried in your absence, and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. Do you understand that? I've received a written document to that effect entitled part of the warning. Confirm for me you sign that document here in court after you reviewed it with your attorney.
Yes, sir.
All right, you'll be released on that bond today. You'll be back in this court on March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That is all. Thank you.
Oh, they cutting a fool. They cutting a fool.
Damn.
Mel says they have to understand that not all have the same culpability, unfortunately. Leslie says, do you blame them? We sick of this.
Back door. Stuff is not good. Not good. Not good. What you do is not right, Max. Well, they all go ahead. Listen up, very much. Things up. Fill them up like that, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Positive says, sounds like they outside the courtroom. Well, there y'all have it. There y'all have it. Any comments before we get out of here? Foxy says they sound very upset. I will be following this case very closely. I will definitely be following this case closely. I want to, go deeper into each of the correctional officers, they charges, as well as, their involvements as well. So I'm going to be covering this case very, very closely, y'all. I'm going to be covering it very closely. It's sad. It's sad because a man lost his life. Leslie says he was handcuffed, right. And it's one thing if we don't see it. Y'all remember before Rodney King? Y'all remember before the video camcorders? Remember it was hard for anybody to prove these kind of cases. For what, 30 plus years now? We've had these incidents on camera. These are no-brainers. It's a no-brainer. I know some people was questioning it. Well, because we can't hear the audio, it's no telling what he was saying to the officers. It's no telling what the officers were saying to him. Listen, it don't matter what he was saying. It don't matter what they were saying. What matters is what we saw. All of these officers pounding on him, beating him, kicking him. We saw staff. I'm surprised that they didn't bring charges on the staff that was there. We saw the staff just standing there, laughing, smiling like it was a big joke. Mel says, I wonder if the family has retained counsel. And we'll get into all of that. We'll get into all of that, whether the family has retained counsel. But like I said, it's a clear case. Now the big question is, in these cases, what do the family go for? Do they go for a civil suit, or do they go for these cowards being held accountable and receive the maximum penalty if they're found guilty in a court of law? You know, I have to put myself in the family's shoes. I would want those that are responsible for my family member, I would want them to go to prison. You know, I'm not one of those men. I'm not one of those that forgive. You know, Positive Vibe says, how many of them will be found guilty? That's a good question. You know, I'm not, you know, and in some cases, you know, family members has forgiven these people that have took the lives of their family members. That's not me. You know, if the max is 40 years, I want them to get the 40 years. If the max is life without parole, I want them to get life without parole. You know, that's just me. And I can't speak for everybody else. But this is a case that we're going to be following over here. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. I appreciate the super stickers and the super chats. I'm not sure if Ms. Parker is going live tonight or not. I'm not sure. But salute everybody, and I'll see y'all back tomorrow. Cape Cod says, does qualified immunity apply? Good question. Good question. We'll chop it up and find out if it qualifies. Because I do know different states have different laws, and so each state is different. But that's a good question, Cape Cod. Mel says they can have both. George Floyd got both. And that's another thing. In my opinion, I believe that a family should be confiscated, or they should receive both monetary accountability as well as criminal. You know, like I say, in that case, certain cases, you know, you can just say, well, okay, but in this case, the Breonna Taylor's case, the George Floyd case, come on. Those wasn't no mistakes. The Sonia Massey case, that wasn't a mistake. And mistakes do happen. Those wasn't no mistakes. They just wasn't no mistakes, y'all. Salute everybody. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Salute.